Frank Hyder is a well-known, renowned visual artist. When he started to become an artist, he thought the journey would be a straightforward progression. Over the years, he has discovered that the road has many twists and turns, numerous hills and valleys, and countless challenges. Through this series of short stories, tales, and remembrances, his hope is that these will offer some valuable insight into the life of an artist and what's involved in becoming an artist. In the end, he has come to realize that he is not a painter or sculptor or anything in particular. He is more simply a creative person, with great passion and love for the process of making art concerning people and the world around us, who shares his artworks with the public. Join us now as we listen to another episode of A Life in Art series.
When you go to art school, all of your energy goes into the class studios. And the schools always have a problem getting good quality academics. The education system demands that you get, along with your studies in drawing or painting or color theory or whatever it is you're studying, they insist also you get some history and some English and some other material, that even a basic math class. Otherwise, it's not a real college degree. So anyway, they always are trying to find teachers or approaches that would be artistically oriented. So anyway, I would have a drawing class from 9 till 12, and then from 12 to 1, I would have an English class that would take place in a boardroom in the college, and then we would go back to the studio from 1 to 4, and then have a history class from 4 to 6, and then there would be more studios in the evening. For my English class, we had a very nervous guy whose name was Franks, and he was in the anthology of New York poets. So he was an accomplished writer, and he was also a guy who had written liner notes for big rock groups. He had written songs for some bands, and he was a personal friend of Allen Ginsberg. One day, he brought Allen Ginsberg to class, and Allen Ginsberg was supposed to give a little presentation on poetry, and it turned into an entire it was almost like going to India or something. He came in wearing a robe, of some kind of exotic robe, and he sat down and played the bongos and recited poetry and did chants and did songs. It started at 12 o'clock, and it was supposed to be over at 1 o'clock, and it went way into the evening. So you were free to stay or go as you will, but it was an extraordinary experience to be with such an accomplished writer and just be in that experience itself as a kind of totality. Anyway, on another given day, you really never knew what was going to happen in this English class. And so we come into the class, and David Frank says to everybody in the room, he says, "All right, I just want you to take out one piece of paper, put it on your desk, and put everything else away." So we all took out one piece of paper. And he said, "Now, here's what we're all going to do. I want you to write on that piece of paper a childhood game that you played when you were a child in which somebody is it. So whether it's tag or whatever it is," he said, "you write a description of how you play that game on that piece of paper." So with that, everybody wrote. I guess it took 15, 20 minutes. And when you were done, he told you, put your pen down and just wait. So when everybody was all done, he went up to the front of the room where he had a Wallenstock tape recorder. And he says, "Now, here's what's going to happen." He said, "I'm going to point to the first person over here. And when I point, I want that person to start reading their story of the game. And then as they're reading, they'll continue to read, I'm going to point to the second person. And then while they're still reading, I'm going to point to a third. And I'm going to keep pointing. I want everybody to just keep reading after they've been pointed to until you're done. And when you're done, you just stop and be absolutely quiet and do nothing. And he said, everybody get it? And we said, yes. So with that, he went over to the tape recorder and he pushed the on button and pointed his finger at the first student, and you heard this voice talk about this childhood game. And as they're talking, he points to the next, then the next, and then the next. And soon the whole room sounds like it's a buzz of sounds, just noise, as all different voices are reading. There's absolutely no coordination. And then slowly that it drifts down to a couple of voices, and then finally just one voice. And the last thing you hear is, and then you're it. And then he pushes the button on the tape recorder and pushes the rewind. And then as he gets to the beginning of the tape, he puts his finger in the air and he says, and now I'm going to play my latest poem for you. It's called You're It. He pushed the button and he played back what we had just performed. I was absolutely spellbound by what I was seeing happening and listening to. And what he had taught me was that you could be so much more creative with language, with words, with poetry. It was so stimulating that he had made this very, very silly, simple little exercise and turned it into something really challenging and inviting to be involved in. You know, I look back and I think, you know, the English classes were not as sophisticated, perhaps, as they might have been in a more normal college situation, but they were absolutely remarkably geared towards creativity and creative people. And I feel that I was blessed to be able to have that opportunity to experience words and language in that way.
Thank you for listening. If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, please reach out to Frank Hyder on Facebook or Instagram. We hope to see you at one of the next A Life in Art episodes.